It was a Tuesday afternoon, a day like any other, until it wasn't. The walk from the hospital parking lot to the emergency room entrance felt like the longest journey of my life. Each step was a battle against a crushing weight in my chest, a sensation so profound and terrifying it felt like an elephant was slowly sitting down on my sternum. I remember the automatic doors sliding open with a soft whoosh, the cool, sterile air hitting my face. I was sweating, yet I felt cold. I knew, with the certainty that only a physician can have, that I was in deep, deep trouble. As I approached the triage desk, the world seemed to slow down. The typical chaos of an ER, the beeps, the distant cries, the overhead pages. My focus narrowed to the face of the nurse behind the glass. I leaned on the counter, trying to keep my voice steady, trying to project calm, when all I felt was rising panic.
I'm having chest pain. It's radiating to my jaw and my left arm.
I was giving them the textbook definition of a heart attack, ticking all the boxes. In that moment, I was no longer a doctor. I was just a patient, scared and vulnerable, placing my life into the hands of strangers. Little did I know, some of those hands would nearly let it slip away. The initial moments inside an emergency department are a blur of questions and vital signs. A blood pressure cuff squeezed my arm, a pulse oximeter clipped onto my finger. They were following the protocol, the script they run through dozens of times a day. But a script is only as good as the actors who read it. And more importantly, the director who understands the full story. I was an open book of classic cardiac symptoms, a walking, talking medical emergency. The initial flurry of activity gave me a fleeting sense of security. Help was here. The system was working, or so I thought. The clock was ticking, and every second lost was a piece of my heart muscle dying. The first critical mistake happened in the interpretation of that first ECG. A young technician wheeled the machine to my bedside. He placed the 10 sticky electrode pads on my chest. I watched as the machine whirred to life, printing out the squiggly lines. The emergency room physician, juggling multiple patients in a busy ER, gave the printout a quick glance. He saw some abnormalities, then concluded they were non-specific changes. The subtle but distinct ST elevations on the tracing, the telltale sign of a STEMI, were missed. STEMI is the most dangerous type of heart attack, caused by a complete blockage of a major coronary artery. Instead, the ER misinterpretation caused a devastating delay. They chose to wait and see. They said they'd repeat the ECG in 30 minutes and wait for blood work results. I was a ticking time bomb and the team had just decided to take a coffee break. While we were waiting, the results from my initial blood draw came back from the lab. When heart muscle is damaged, it releases troponin into the bloodstream. An elevated troponin is a clear biochemical signal of a heart attack. My first troponin level came back very high. It was an unambiguous, blaring siren that my heart muscle was dying. The failure to connect the clinical symptoms and the lab results was a profound breakdown in judgment. It's analysis paralysis. Fear of a wrong move leads to no move. In a heart attack, inaction lets heart muscle continue to perish. Eventually, after a second, more obviously abnormal ECG, the alarm bells finally went off. They threaded a catheter through my wrist, inflated a tiny balloon to open the artery, and placed a stent to keep it open. Blood flow was restored, relief was immediate. I had survived the procedure. I was transferred to the cardiac care unit for recovery and monitoring. This is a critical period. In my case, monitoring was inadequate. Either alarms weren't set correctly or alerts were ignored due to alarm fatigue. A life-threatening arrhythmia began, and no one noticed. I felt lightheaded. My vision went dark. I was slipping into unconsciousness. My heart went into ventricular fibrillation, a chaotic, quivering rhythm that pumps no blood. Sudden cardiac arrest. A family member screamed for help and alerted staff. They rushed in, saw the flat line on my monitor, began chest compressions, and brought in the defibrillator. This delay was the third and nearly final mistake. Monitoring isn't just equipment, it's attention plus a system to respond instantly. My life was saved not by the monitoring system but by the panicked cry of a loved one. 3 mistakes: a misread ECG, ignored lab results, and inadequate monitoring. Each compounded the last, bringing me one step closer to a fatal outcome. It wasn't a failure of technology, it was a failure of human cognition and communication, a lapse that brought me to the very edge of death. What ultimately saved my life was a combination of modern medical technology and a few key individuals who finally broke through the systemic inertia. The first turning point was the second ECG. The changes had become so pronounced, the ST segment elevations so obvious that they could no longer be ignored. A senior nurse, seeing the new tracing, bypassed the ER physician and directly paged the on-call cardiologist. That nurse's decision to break the chain of command was a crucial, life-saving intervention. It set in motion the race against time that I so desperately needed. The cardiologist saw the ECG and immediately activated the cath lab. The interventional cardiology team was my second saving grace. They were a well-oiled machine. From the moment I was wheeled into the cath lab, everything was executed with speed and precision. The cardiologist explained what was happening as he worked, his calm demeanor a stark contrast to the chaos I felt inside. Watching the monitor as he guided the wire through my artery and deployed the stent was surreal. The moment the blockage was cleared and blood flow returned was like a light switch being flipped. The pain vanished, the pressure lifted. That procedure, the PCI, is a modern miracle. It directly saved my heart from further destruction. However, surviving the heart attack itself was only part of the battle. When I went into ventricular fibrillation and my heart stopped, it was the raw, human element that saved me. It was not a machine or a protocol, but my wife's presence. She was sitting by my bedside, saw my eyes roll back and screamed. Her scream cut through the noise and complacency of the unit. It was her voice that triggered the code blue. It was her love and vigilance that served as the final, most important alarm. One powerful jolt of electricity reset my heart's rhythm. I gasped, taking a deep, shuddering breath as consciousness flooded back. I survived because a nurse dared to escalate, a cardiologist acted with lightning speed, and my wife refused to let me go. My journey to the edge and back taught me some hard lessons. Medical errors are often not born from incompetence, they come from system failures, poor communication, and human factors like fatigue and cognitive bias. I've compiled a checklist for both patients and medical staff. These are critical actions when a heart attack is suspected. You know your body better than anyone. If something feels desperately wrong, speak up. If you're not being heard, ask for another opinion. Ask for the cardiologist. Ask to see the lab results. Ask what the ECG shows. Be persistent, be polite, but be firm. Your life may depend on it. First, know the symptoms. Chest pressure, jaw pain, neck pain, back pain, arm pain, shortness of breath, nausea, sweating. Women in particular may have atypical symptoms. Second, call 911 immediately. Do not drive yourself. Paramedics can start treatment and do an ECG en route. Third, be a clear historian. Say, I think I'm having a heart attack. Use direct language. For medical professionals, fight complacency. Treat every chest pain as a heart attack until proven otherwise. Trust the data, but listen to your patient. Never underestimate a second look or a quick call to a specialist. Time is muscle. Aim for an ECG within 10 minutes for classic symptoms. Connect the dots. High troponin plus chest pain equals heart attack. Monitor vigilantly after PCI. Post-procedure is high risk. Ensure alarms are set and staff are trained. Fight alarm fatigue with education and protocol. The more we talk, the more we learn and improve. My story has a happy ending. I recovered with minimal heart damage, but it's a cautionary tale. Share this information with loved ones. Understand the process and the pitfalls. Share your own stories. The more we talk, the more we learn and improve. Your life, or someone you love, could one day depend on it. Subscribe for more ER lessons. Share your own story. I'll pin the top comment. Knowledge is our most powerful tool. Be an advocate for your health and for those you care for. Together we can improve the system that saves lives. Every mistake is a lesson. Every lesson saves lives. Your heart is worth fighting for. Don't let the system fail you. Be prepared. Be informed. Be alive.